We got 4 games on today's slate. I have 5 open bets. It's time to lock in, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm so fresh like the morning. Mouth wide open like they yawning. Every time they see me, they in G-Stride. Homie, this is too far. Homie, I feel too alive. You can see me like Illuminati. You can see me like Illuminati. But I'm trying to...
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of The Closing Line. My name is Troy Torrance, and I host this show every Tuesday and Thursday here at Pub Sports Radio. And just a forewarning, I got a crew of workers trying to replace my roof at the moment. So if you hear a lot of banging, some hammering, I'm just going to keep pumping right through it. We have 4 games up, and we're just going to have to work through it today. So let's get into it. And like I always say, there's something I want to bring up at the start of every show. I want to circle back to what we all started with here. My very first show, I talked about tribal knowledge and how in the sports betting industry, it's tribal knowledge to believe that there's no value in betting lines late. These lines have already been pounded into shape. I've spent the better part of 4 years disproving that theory with the market efficiency database. Lines move too much. They don't move enough. They don't move at all. In any case, the bookies are giving us a clue with every move they make. So let's talk about this slate we got on deck today. But before that, I got to talk to my guys in chat, two guys who are here every week to support me and to support Pub Sports Radio. Ryan Glover, the Glove Man, I appreciate you chiming in, always showing up, supporting me. Really appreciate that. Retweeting everything I post on X. It means a lot to me. I see you out there. Hopefully one day we could cross paths. Colin Gregory, likewise, man. You're always in here showing support. Love you guys, man. This is a crew we got here. Believers in the market efficiency database and believers in being able to create an edge with the market, with basically market interpretation, nonetheless. So talking about last week's show, actually it's from Tuesday, we lost 1.14 units, and it was really a struggle of a day. We had the Orioles and Jays over. We had the Orioles money line. We had the Red Sox and Braves under. We had the Red Sox money line. So we split with the O's and the O's money line, the O's over, the O's money line. We lost both the Red Sox Braves under and the Red Sox money line. We won with the Padres Phillies under. We lost with the White Sox money line in extra innings. We lost with the Thunder Spurs under 218.5. But we absolutely hammered the Brewers money line, -1, -1.5. First 5 money line, they won 6-0. Thankfully, because we definitely needed that. And as that show ended, as soon as I clicked off the show, I had seen in the last 5 minutes, as we were closing out that show, the Brewers line moved another 20 cents towards them. It ended up being like a 60-cent move, and I had talked about it. And just to circle back to what I just talked about with, lines don't move enough in some cases. There's still value to be had. So in that case, we've seen the line move 50, 60 cents, and people would be like, hey, I'm hands off. I don't want any part of this anymore. Historically speaking, we know that line did not move enough, and that's how that line is played out. It played out in front of our very eyes with the Brewers, who cashed just the cash cow markets very easily. With that being said, we're going to get right into our action today, and we're first game up, Orioles and Blue Jays. The Blue Jays won for me yesterday. I made a post on X about the Blue Jays and taking them on the money line and fading. Actually, I'm going to talk about that market in the subsequent games because it's a very similar market we're looking at later today. I backed the Orioles in overs in their series against Tampa Bay with a ton of success. In this game, we got 53% of bets and cash coming in on the Orioles. Per odds logic, 74% of bets, 70% of cash on the Blue Jays. So we're seeing a ton of action coming in on the Blue Jays. We're seeing a mixed signals in the total market, depending on where you look. But I find it very interesting, and I love when these lines are stagnant. You can see right there on screen, this line opened at -131. It's currently sitting at -131. But you can look across all the different books, and you see it definitely mixed signals everywhere. BetOnline moved at 13 cents towards Baltimore. Superbook moved at 4 cents towards Baltimore. Bovada moved at 9 cents towards Toronto, which means, of course, Circa moved at 7 cents towards Toronto, because those line movements are always just tit for tat, nick for knack. And I've spent countless hours studying how these lines interact. And there's a reason why I use DraftKings in the MLB to document the history of the markets. And I'm going to actually make an episode on this entirely, on what books to look at for what information, because it's super important. But ultimately, the moral of the story is, the moral of this story is books don't move lines according to the organizational cash flow. So it doesn't matter how much money a book's taken on. All these books are colluding to some extent because they cannot leave room for arbitrage, right? It don't matter how much cash flow is coming in at FanDuel, DraftKings, Bovada, BetOnline, on any particular side. Every book is going to move their line to match the market makers, the sharpest books, the Circus, the Pinnacles, the Super Books. So in my opinion, it's extremely and completely untrue to say that individual books' goals are to get equal action on both sides. I think that's a farce that's been debunked. And that's something we're going to take advantage of in this game because if you remember, not too long ago, I talked about sticker shock. When we look at a total, like, for example, going back to the Phillies and it was the Reds game, we talked about a total of 10 in a matchup where Nola and Abbott were on the mound in the Phillies and Reds game. Well, here it's the exact opposite. In that game, we had two quality, I don't want to say quality when we're looking at Nola, but two respected pitchers that we don't see 10 totals on very often. Unless they're in specific ballparks, specific weather conditions. It wasn't the case that day. We've seen a high total. Now we're looking at two pitchers who are known to be gas cans with a total of 8.5. We just seen two matchup in Baltimore, two games consecutive in Baltimore with a total higher than this with significantly better pitchers on the mound. And this to me was sticker shock because we're looking at an 8.5 in this game. And no signs of this moving up to a 9 at this point either. There was kind of trickling that way earlier in the day. It's not no more. And I have a graphic for this game. I don't know if Vic was able to see what I had sent him prior to this game coming up, but home teams that close between minus 138, minus 122 with a line that moved 10 cents or less. The key there is a line that moved 10 cents or less, right? Because I'm finding that to give us an incredible edge and look into a market. And a total between 8.5 and 9 is home teams in this market are 129 and 92 straight up. That's 58%. The under is 122 and 90, 58%. And when the road team went under 4.5, the road team in this market environment went under 4.5 in 66% of that sample, 145 and 76 to under 4.5 for the road team. And that even gets those trends for the home team and the road team's team total under gets even better when you look at these markets in division. The home team is 46, 27 straight up, 63%. The under is 43 and 29. That's just full game under, 60% of the under. But the road team went under their 4.5 team total 68% of the time, 50 and 23 to the road team's team total under. So I plan on taking advantage of that. And really, I want to put emphasis on the under in this game because that's where the sticker shock truly is, looking at Corbin and Bassett on the mound with a total of 8.5. Bassett with a 1.67 whip, a 5.51 ERA, and a 4.86 xERA. He's coming off a terrible start at home against Detroit, 4.1 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. But he has been significantly better at home. At home, he's got a 3.46 ERA, a 2.86 opponent batting average. On the road, his ERA is over 8. He's significantly worse versus left-handed hitters. He's got a 3.22 opponent batting average, 9.17 OPS, and a 1.88 whip, which is actually very favorable for Bassett in this matchup because Toronto is a right-hand hitting dominant team. I mean, they got some lefties in the lineup, Varsho, Sanchez, Penango, Jimenez, but it's not a scary group of left-handed hitters, in my opinion. I actually think those are pretty weak, a weak group of lefties. You know, Varsho, I mean, he's hit or miss. He really has I don't think he should be hitting in the top of any lineup. Sanchez, the same could be said about him. Penango has a bunch of talent, but he's still young and trying to get things right. Jimenez is starting to look a little bit washed up. And you're looking at Bassett, I mean, his K rate is down significantly, but what he has been able to do is limit barrels, limit hard hits. His barrel rate dropped from 8.5% to 3.7%, and he's going to be pitching against his old team, which adds an extra layer of motivation for him. Toronto versus right-handed pitching is 15th since May, 17th on the season, and I think we could expect him to pitch 5 innings go through 5 innings of work, maybe 2 or 3 earned runs of baseball. And on the other side, you got Patrick Corbin, who, I mean, he has a 1.40 whip, a 3.87 ERA. It looks incredible. Until you start getting under the hood a little bit, you see a 5.40 xERA, but that 5.40 xERA is a huge step forward from my last documented data point on Corbin was on May 12th. He had an xERA of 6.19. So that's coming down almost a full run. That was as I was preparing for his start against Tampa Bay. That was on a Tuesday, maybe a few weeks back. But he's proof that old, washed up, crafty vets can still bring value to a baseball team in the MLB. He still works the same thing he's been doing for years. It's sinker slider combo. those two pitches breaking in opposite directions. He gives more barrels and a much higher hard hit rate than does Bassett. But as you know, we know his xERA suggests regression, but it has been for multiple years. And we know with these old crafty vets with no velo, they rely on soft contact. I do think he could pitch well. I think Bassett's actually set up to be in a much better position, because if you look situationally, the Blue Jays are traveling on the road. And on the road, the Blue Jays are just 10-16 on the season, but they're just 1-3 straight up in their first game of a road series after a homestand. That one win came in extra innings in comeback fashion late. They scored 6 runs after the 9th inning, and they haven't scored more than 4 runs in regulation in any of those games. So I find it to be very appealing to be fading the Blue Jays in this spot. The Orioles, they've had a rough season, but at home they're 17-13, and it's their 3rd consecutive home series. They're 4-1 straight up in the first game of a home-to-home series. The Blue Jays' arms, I mean, I guess both teams' arms are somewhat used, still available, but taxed. But I'm going to be riding with the database in this spot. I'm on the Blue Jays team total under 4.5 minus 145. I put 2 units on that. I got to be, a little bit heavier on the team total under in this game because of the sticker shock value that I think we're getting here with this low total with 2 gas cans on the mound. I also got the Orioles money line minus 126. If you're looking for a Blue Jays team total under 4.5, it was available at some offshores earlier. Probably still is there, but it was available at DraftKings as well. It was an alt line, but it was a 4.5 at minus 145. So that's where I'd be looking. But this is exactly why I built the database in the first place, is to find spots like this where there is sticker shock value and to see what happens historically in a market of this nature. And what we find is the road teams going under their team total at over a 65% clip in a 200-game sample. 145 and 76 to the team total under for the road team in this market environment. How could you not bet that? So I put 2 units on it, and I'm pretty damn confident in it. Yeah, Jeff Tiffany says, has been playing much better as of late. I agree. And we thought that this was coming. We actually thought this was coming last year as well. So maybe it's just a flash in the pan, but I do believe there is some staying power with this team. Top set, my boy. I'm on Baltimore first 5 and Spurs today. Is that all you got, Top set? Is that all you got? But I'm with you on both those looks. San Francisco 49 Pub Sports. Yes, sir. Pub Sports Radio. We squatting up in here. Jose Perez, what up, what up? All right. Tisket, a tasket, 5.1 ERA, Chris Bassett. Yeah. Swiggy. Come on. Team total under, Blue Jays. Those bats are not what we would expect them to be after what they were able to do last season. I really do like that team total under for the Blue Jays. All right. With that said, let's keep grinding. We got the Pirates. We got the Chicago Cubs. We got Skeens versus Rhea, basically the 2 opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to quality of MLB starting pitchers. We're looking at all the action coming in on Pittsburgh. You look at action, you look at odds logic, wager talk, all the action's coming in. The total is actually, you're seeing a 50-50 split pretty much. I think you're seeing a lot of sentiment for the over, a lot of sentiment for the under, and that's actually where I'm going to be looking in this game. From a side perspective, the Pirates open minus 175, and again, we have another stagnant market. This market has not moved. I know we're showing on the screen here a 4-cent move. I'm actually seeing this open and close at minus 175, but the first 5 opened up minus 190, and it's up to minus 210. Chicago Cubs money line 9 legacy, my guy. Appreciate you checking in. And Baltimore run line, Chicago Cubs money line. I dig it. I could dig it, man. The total opened up 7.5 juice to the under, and it's pretty much stagnant at this point too. So we got a side and total that are very stagnant. We're seeing action coming in on Pitt. The first 5 line is moving. The full game line is not. If you look at this market historically with divisional home teams that open and close between minus 190 and minus 160, it's basically taking a 15-cent range, saying this is where the home team's opening and closing with a total of 8 or less. The home team is 32-21 straight up. Sounds good at 60%, right? Break even at minus 175 is 63%. However, the under in that market, 33-16 to the under, 67% to the under. If the line moved 10 cents or less in that market, so we have a 30-cent range, but now we're looking at a much narrower sample, right? A very stagnant market. The home team is 20-16 straight up, only 56%, which is telling me in both of these samples, the value is on the Cubs money line, showing plus EV. That's not where I'm looking today. And I'll talk about why. But I am looking towards the under because in that sample where the line's barely moving, the under is 23-11, 68% to the under. The Pirates in this market environment are 0-4 straight up. 2 of those games, Skeens was on the mound. One of them was against the Chicago Cubs, and they're 2-2 to the under. So they're basically 50-50 on the over-under. Cubs 1-0. The only time they've seen this market in division was against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They got the win. So let's start with Rhea because I think there's more question marks surrounding him, even though it's probably a better handicap on Skeens. Rhea 1.37 WHIP, 4.83 ERA, 5.19 xERA. So he has some regression looming, but he's one of those old crafty vets that it continues to perform above his expected numbers. The underlying metrics match the peripherals. Like I feel like there's nothing that's kind of out of whack here where we expect a massive amount of regression or progression for that standpoint. But what makes Ray unique is his ability to limit barrels, keep hard contact down, which he's gotten better at over the past few years. And especially when you look at the low end of the velocity spectrum. I mean, he's not throwing a fastball, above 94 miles an hour. His stuff plus in general is pretty weak. I mean, he relies heavily on his extension, which is in the top 20th percentile, but his deception and his sequencing is probably his strongest suit. Now, he's brought more mix to his pitch mix this season. He's brought him, I'd say, a better balance, most notably the increasing of his splitter, his usage on the splitter, which is meta from 12% to 19%. That's a massive 60% increase. I like to see that. And I think that's why we're seeing him get so many more Ks than he has been historically. The issue with Rhea is his longevity over the course of a game. I mentioned this in Jimmy the Bag's chat this morning. The first 3 innings, he usually goes off without a hitch, giving up 0 or 1 runs, little to no damage. 4th and 5th innings is where he falls apart. His velocity starts tanking. His opponent batting average, the slug, the walk rate, the whip goes hyperbolic. And Pittsburgh versus right-handed pitching, this is surprising to me. They're first since May 1st. They're 5th on the season. So they've been destroying right-handed pitching. I look at the lineup. I see some of the top end of their lineup, some of those O'Neill, Cruz, Reynolds, the lefties that they have, and it makes a little bit of sense. But we're talking about a Pittsburgh lineup that's really deserves to be first in the MLB over the past 30 days, 5th on the season. I do think we see some regression from that standpoint. And then on the other side, you got Skeens on the mound with a .82 WHIP, 3.0 ERA, and a 2.41 xERA. His last 2 starts at Toronto, 5 innings pitched, 9 hits, 4 earned. Versus Philly at home, 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 earned. Now he's given up 3 or more runs in 4 of his 11 starts this season. Last year in 32 starts, he only gave up 3 or more runs 5 times. 5 times. So what does that tell me? That tells me that maybe teams are catching on to him a little bit. I mean, his fastball velo did drop from 98.2 to 97, a full mile per hour. So we are seeing a little bit of regression from his fastball. There are some concerns, right? It's his third year in the league, and teams I feel like are starting to adapt, figuring him out to some extent. But even if that's the case, and they are figuring him out, he's still an elite pitcher, but maybe not untouchable like he has been in the past, and like we expected to see him coming into the season. Chicago Cubs versus right-handed pitching, they've been terrible over the past 2 weeks, but over the past 30 days, which gives you a bigger sample size, their league average, they're 6th on the season. I think they're somewhere in between, top 5 and league average. They broke out yesterday. It's going to be hard to follow up that performance because you got Skeens on the mound. So that's a really tough to follow up a 10-plus run output performance when you're going up against Skeens. However, you look at Chicago Cubs versus Skeens, 91 at-bats, 253 opponent batting average, and a 764 OPS. That's pretty damn good considering Skeens' career numbers. He's posted a sub-200 opponent batting average in 3 seasons consecutive. He's posted a sub-600 OPS in 3 consecutive seasons. The Cubs have done better than both those marks. They probably do the most damage or have done the most damage versus Skeens of any team in the MLB. And originally, I wanted to play this game over. I look at Skeens, who's not in great form, against the Cubs lineup, who's got to him before. I see Ray on the mound against a Pittsburgh lineup who hits right-handed pitching. But after exhausting all the combinations and variables of the market, I kept coming full circle back to the under. And I'm going to ride with the database and fade the offensive explosion we've seen in the last 2 games of the series. Yesterday, it was the Cubs. They put up 10 runs, 14 total runs. The Cubs offense breaks out. Now they get Skeens on a bounce-back start. Game 2 games ago, the Pirates offense broke out. They put up 12 runs. I think it's time to sell high on their offense against right-handed pitching. I moved on the under 7.5 in this game at -110. And I moved on it with confidence. I was considering first 5, but I didn't see any reason, any tells in the market that told me that that was the way to play this game with the first 5 under. I'd rather let this play out over the course of full 9 innings. And I'm on the full game under 7.5. Nasty motherfucking Nate, what's good? I was on that Nerfy 2 tops that what does Troy have locked in the cabinet? Oh man, I got a gang of subordinates, slaves in my cabinet. No, I got a bunch of I got a crew of men on my roof right now, trying to replace my roof. Give me a break here. 2-0 Braves. Come on, True Teller. That's great news. It's great news, man. I'm on the Braves. I'm going up against the Sharps in that spot. Like I would, it wouldn't matter if it's the Braves. It just made me feel more comfortable being the Braves. But I made a post on X about the Braves game. If you're interested to see how I'm wielding the database and market history to my advantage, that'd be a good game to check out because I kind of elaborated on what I was doing in that game. And I actually started alluding to what I was going to do in that game last night and using my CLV grab analysis to my advantage. So go ahead and check that out on X. I think you'd appreciate it. And I think it would lend some credibility to when I start talking about the market history in these spots. Now, nothing's foolproof, right? Like I say, I mean, you could be the best sports bettor in the world and you're dying to get a 3 to 5% ROI. So keep that in mind. Nothing's foolproof. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. It's about the long run. Let's get to it. Derek Berry, D6G, let's get this money, Troy. I mean, shit, trying to get this money, man. And even though there's 4 games on the slate, guess where I've been all damn day? Locked in this chair looking for an edge. And we're already on the last game of the MLB slate. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Oldie, Mr. Ian. Welcome to the chat, brother. Welcome to the chat. Jose Perez, I like that. Team total under 4, Toronto. Colin Rea under outs. Yeah, Jose Perez, so I want to see Rea get moved to the bullpen. I think that's where he would be if it weren't for all the Cubs injuries to their starting pitching, with Steele, with Cade Horton, you got Boyd on the IL. So, I think he should be in the bullpen, maybe an extended relief, pitching 2 to 3 innings, but you can clearly see everything falls off the map for Rea after 3 innings. So maybe if you like the over, wait till 3 innings, then move on the over. Wait till 3 innings, then move on the Pirates. You'll get a better number, right? I like the over in the Cubs game. Top set. I like the Nerfy in the Cubs, but it is juicy. Yeah, but sometimes you got to pay the juice. There's a reason. I mean, me and Jimmy the Bag are in tandem when we say we like to bet things that are expensive. There's a reason they're expensive. And I think that could be a case here. I think the Nerfy makes a lot of sense. All right, next game up, and this is definitely one of those situations where I'm starting to backtrack just a little bit here. Rangers, Astros, and for some reason, man, I just keep moving on this Rangers team a little bit too early. And then the market continues to move. I see a little bit of a move, and I'm like, okay, this is normal. And then it just keeps plummeting. It keeps skyrocketing. Like these lines are just crashing or going hyperbolic in the Rangers games recently. Really hard to get a gauge of. So let's talk about Rangers, Astros. 58% of bets, 78% of cash on Houston per action. Same thing, odds logic, 69% of bets, 47% of cash on Houston. I'm interested to see if this remains true here. Sorry, guys, I'm getting this loaded back up. This is a very important game because I am thinking about hedging my action here in this spot. We are looking at the same thing. Yep, 70% of bets, 50% of cash on Houston. You look at Circa. Circa moved this 20 cents towards the Houston Astros. DK 20. Pretty much anywhere you look right now at the moment, you're seeing a 20-cent move towards the Astros. However, if you look at the first 5 market, you're seeing a much smaller, a more suppressed move, which makes a lot more sense and is more in line with what we've historically seen in these markets between 2 divisional teams. With a low total, like seeing this big move is starting to spook me a little bit. Like if we look at Bovada, the first 5 line moved 10 cents. Look at BOL, the first 5 line moved 5 cents. We're seeing a 20-cent move on the full game. That's definitely concerning. And I have a ton of metrics here that would all be alluding to a market that's no longer present. I'm not, home teams that close between minus 158, 160, and 140. It's no longer the case. We're outside of that range. And now, in saying that, there's ways you can manipulate the data as it currently sits to give one side or the other. I'm not going to do that. But there's one thing I did see in actually profiling this game before I came on live is sharp action on the road team, right? Because like I said, on Action Network, which is where I have 4 years of history. So that's what I'm using in my database. 58% of bets, 78% of cash on Houston. Definitely the sharp actions coming in on Houston. The line's reacting. Well, when we see sharp action on a road team and a market moving towards them and the under in division, 70% to the under when we have a moderately priced home favorite between minus 150, minus 120. 70%. That's a massive astronomical amount. And I did have a graphic queued up. I kind of sent these over to Vic late, so he might not have this ready to go. And he does have this ready to go. So when I moved on this game yesterday, I was looking at what happens. Obviously, this is what I pull every single day for my CLV grab analysis when I'm trying to make a bet that's going to not only capture CLV, but also close in a profitable market environment. And you can see I have it highlighted in yellow, right? What happens when the market moves towards the road team. On the left, you just see it filtered down to the opening price range between minus 166, minus 146 in division. Nothing on total, right? Not incorporating the total at all. You can see when the line moves towards the road team in that market, the home team's only winning 45%. However, when it moves towards the home team, 64%. Now, the crazy thing is move over to the right side of this graphic. What happens when the total close range is between 7 and 8, low totals? And this is why I always say we want to fade the steam with a low total in division. This is a perfect example of why I want to do that, because historically the home team is still winning 59% of that sample. The line moving towards the road team with a low total. And then you can go to the bottom of the graphic. I expected this to be a very small move, kind of a negligible move towards the Houston Astros. You could see if it only moved 1 to 9 cents, we'd be in great shape, right? 87% on the money line. That's great. 13-2. However, now we're seeing a more conviction in this move. Now it's up to 20 cents, right? And now you're seeing, like, to the right hand of that graphic, when it moves between 10 and 40 cents, home teams are winning. They're very unprofitable in this market environment, which is sad to see because I had already moved on the Rangers in this market. I also have the first 5 in this market, and I think that if anything, I would still be on the first 5 on Eovaldi, because Eovaldi's a pitcher I do want to back. He's got a 114 WHIP, 3.65 ERA, 4.10 xERA, but that xERA is down from 4.6, which was earlier in May. On May 12th, he had a 4.6 xERA. Now he's down to 4.10. In May, 22 innings pitched, 13 hits, 4 walks, 4 earned runs. That's a sub-1 WHIP and a great ERA. He's pitched into the 7th inning in 4 consecutive starts. And he's pitched. I've been tracking him very closely because of his splitter usage. I always harp on pitchers that use the splitter because I do believe it's meta. I think we're going to continue to see pitchers add splitters to their pitch mix because it's a great way to change your off speed, right? You got your off speed in your changeups. You got your off speed in your splitters. I feel like it's going to become a way more common pitch. And I think we're seeing all the pitchers throwing the splitter currently are increasing their usage of it. He throws the splitter at the highest clip in the MLB at a 40% clip, which is up 31% from last year. That's the highest usage out of any starting pitcher in the league. And hitters are batting 158 off that split this season with a 285 xWOBA. His splitter has been great. However, left-handed hitters certainly do more damage off Eovaldi, but Houston only has one quality left-handed bat in their lineup. And obviously that's Jordan Alvarez, who has been electric for Eovaldi. 23 at-bats for Alvarez against Eovaldi, 12 hits, 2 home runs, a 5.22 batting average over 23 at-bats is pretty damn good, and a 1,500 OPS. I mean, it's pretty clear the game plan for Eovaldi should be do not pitch to Alvarez, pitch around him. If you have to walk him, just walk him. Focus on the remaining lineup because there's not a lot of left-handed hitters that you have to worry about after him. And if versus Astros not named Jordan Alvarez, 194 opponent batting average on 108 at-bats. Houston versus right-handed pitching since May 1st, 25th in the MLB. It's a team I think we could be looking towards fading. Arrighetti on the other side, and this is a guy who I have earmarked for regression. He's got a 120 WHIP, 132 ERA, but a 4.79 xERA. He's coming off 5 innings, 2 hits, 4 walks against the Cubs, whose offense was completely dead at the time. and he still escaped 2 bases loaded jams with no damage. One of them with 1 out, one of them with 2 outs. Prior to that, he went 7.1 innings pitched, 1 hit, 4 walks against the Rangers. He's walked 3 or more batters in 6 of his 7 starts, and he's had 4 walks or more in 5 of his 7 starts. His ERA versus xERA over the last 3 seasons, I mean, you could just look at the historical numbers, look at the pitching run values, look at the velo, look at all the things. Yeah, there's not a lot of things changing with Arrighetti year over year, yet we're looking at a 1.32 ERA this year. Last year, 5.35. 2024, 4.53. His xERA was above 4 all 3 seasons. Last year it was 5.44. He's at 4.79. Like, he's going to see regression. I look at his resume, and I have plenty of doubts. You know, he caught the Cubs when their offense was at the worst in the MLB. You know, he had the Rangers offense, who's average versus right-handed pitching, both last 30 and on the season. They're league average, but we know this offense is fully capable of struggling. The Reds offense in early May, when they were the worst offense in the MLB, the Red Sox, who's a bottom 3 lineup versus right-handed pitching. The Yankees are his one lone impressive data point, where he handed the New York Yankees a loss when they were on an 8-game winning streak and just exploding with runs night in and night out. Arrighetti went out at home and shut him down. He caught the Guardians in Cleveland with a total that was 7. You know, at home against Colorado, another bottom 3 lineup. Arrighetti's a pitcher I believe we could fade with confidence. We got the Astros, who travel home for a series against the Brewers, the Rangers, who are going to remain home for a series against Kansas City, and the Rangers at home off after a loss are 7-3 straight up on the season. We have we had a favorable market history, not the case anymore. We have a starting pitching advantage, considering Spaghetti is due for regression, an offense in better form versus right-handed pitching, and we get to fade the public and sharps piling in on Houston. The only thing I don't like is the 20-cent move, and I would definitely not recommend taking the Rangers full game money line, but I still heavily endorse the Rangers first 5 money line, and I did move on the first 5 money line for 2 units. So I'm on 2 of the 3 favorites tonight, but I am fading the public in 2 of the 3 spots as well. So in the MLB, we got the Rangers first 5 money line for 2 units. We got the under 7.5 in the Cubs Pirates. And I'm thinking about really adding more to my position on the Blue Jays team total under. That sticker shock. I just want to keep going back to that market, because that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be in that type of game where that total just looks completely skewed and off. So we're on the team total under for the Blue Jays 4.5 for 2 units, and we got the Orioles sprinkle 1 unit on that money line. That's probably my favorite spot, is that Blue Jays team total under. If I was only betting one thing at this point based on the current markets, that would be the bet. Top set says lay the juice on the first 3 under. It's my only lean. So Arrighetti, Eovaldi, first 3 under. I could dig it. I could definitely dig it. It's not like the Texas Rangers bats scare me very much. And if it wasn't for Arrighetti, maybe if he had a bad start in Chicago, maybe if they got to him on one of those times they Cubs loaded the bases, then I could move on that comfortably. But I do think, actually, you know, and the last thing I mentioned about that market, the very last revelation I had in that market is the sharp action on the road team with the market moving towards them and the under. 70% to the under in a 45-game sample in division. Pretty damn impressive. Jose Perez, thank you, Troy. No problem, man. I love doing this. I love doing this, brother. Anytime. We got one more game left yet, Jose. Don't leave yet, because we got the NBA up next. Only 1 game remaining. It's the Thunder and the Spurs. It's a big one, but it's a very difficult market. And anytime you're talking about playoff basketball, the edges are just every series. The longer the series goes, the longer the playoffs go, the smaller the edge you could actually realize is. I really do believe that. After betting the NBA when I first started sports betting, I thought NBA was going to be my best sport. It's a sport I can pay the most attention to. I definitely know the X's and O's. It's a sport I love. I love to play. I was a great basketball player back in my heydays, but it didn't seem to be the case because it was really hard to read the markets with these massive swings. Now we're talking about playoffs, much cleaner markets, much cleaner reads on the markets. And this one specifically, actually, let me pull this up because my numbers might be a little bit outdated as it relates to this market. Let me click over to the NBA Thunder Spurs We got 57% of bets, 55% of cash coming in on the Spurs. You click over to the Wager Talk live screen, and we're looking at 67% of bets, only 54% of cash on the Spurs. But we have seen some line movement. The Spurs opened 2.5, they're up to 3.5. The total opened 218.5, and we've been sitting there stagnant. It's actually starting to tick up to 219.5 at some shops, which is not a surprise. I was on the under this last game. I took an L. And let's actually talk about the line functionality in this spot. So games 3, games 4, the Spurs closed 2.5 in both those games. They opened 2.5, closed 2.5. Game 3, they lost by 15. Then they opened back at 2.5 the very next game, and that's your telltale sign right there that they just took a home loss by 15 in game 3. Now the bookies reopen them at 2.5 in game 4. That's a clear tell, and I think that right now, looking at this 3.5, I think the line functionality heavily favors the Spurs. It does reflect cash flow to some extent because they did open back at 2.5, but at the same time, just seeing that 3.5 pop is pretty interesting to me, and how much money people stand to make from the bookies, from the teams, from the NBA if we see a game 7. I had the under in game 5 thinking we'd get a tighter, more focused effort on turnovers. It didn't happen. 32 turnovers, 44 points conceded off turnovers. Definitely the reason that game went flying over the total. And this time of the year in the NBA, we can throw all the matchups and traditional logic and X's and O's out the window, in my opinion, because I think it comes down to mob shit, a.k.a. shit. And seeing the Spurs line open in game 6, back at the 2.5, then get bet up to 3.5 tells me the bookies are thinking there's going to be a game 7. And if the bookies think it's going to game 7, then so do I. It's got to be a Spurs or pass situation. And I should probably be betting the Spurs today. And it wouldn't make sense to take a money line. This would definitely be a Spurs ATS or pass situation for me. But I'm not going to be betting this game. I will be watching. Actually, I might not be watching this game because I have so much action popping off in the MLB. But I'll definitely have it on my side TV. Let's see what in the chat, what we got going on. Arrighetti scares the living daylights out of me. He's a walk machine. That said, Texas offense is so brutally bad. And the park suppresses runs. It's Jet. I agree. And it's so confusing, too, because I remember back when I first started the database in 2023 and looking at the total distribution over the past few years, I pulled a couple queries from SDQL, and I seen that on average, like they were on average in Texas, that ballpark was producing some of the highest totals in the MLB. Now, they were 50-50-ish, in a 5-year span of going overs and under. But, I mean, the average total was in the top 5. And now it's starting to absolutely tank down to the very bottom of the MLB. And I don't know if it's a reflection of their offense or what have you. But, yeah, I'm interested to understand that better, of what happened in that ballpark that it turned to such a run-suppressing environment. Troy, my son made me think with his youth and the way Spurs coddled him last year. Wait, Troy, my son made me think with his youth and the way Spurs coddled him last year. I think maybe Wemby is running on empty. That could be true. That's a good point. I have to take a second to think more about that. Because you could definitely see some of that come into fruition last game. It's a really good point. Something to consider. Top Set says there's no edge here, just conviction. I agree. He's talking about the NBA game, I believe. Orioles game nerfy for GLB Bets. Welcome, GLB Bets. I think you're just joining now. Appreciate you. Truth teller, Ray going to get smacked up. Skeen's not doing great. The under in the Cubs game is a trap. It might be. Because like I said, Truth teller, I was actually thinking the over, and I was hoping that I would see a profile that would be in support of the over. But when I've noticed that when I exhaust every variable and every asset variable that I have in the database, and I still can't produce a profile that suggests the over is the play, I have to move on the under, because I can make a case for the under based on the recent offensive performances. Jermaine, what's going on? What up, gang? Great show as always. Thank you, Troy. No problem, Colin. Anytime, man. Anytime. And I do see that my My Atlanta Braves gave up the lead in the 4th inning, so let's hopefully get one out here in the 5th because I do have a little bit of first 5 action as well. Oh, man. With that being said, it's time to close up the show. Sorry for all the noise and the clutter that we're hearing on my roof right now. These guys are working their asses off, so appreciate that. But sorry for I don't know if you guys could have heard me any better. But that's going to wrap it up for today, May 28th, 2026, for the closing line. Thank you to everyone who stops by to support us every Tuesday and Thursday, any day of the week. The closing line, any show here at Pub Sports Radio, you're going to get good content, well thought out. People actually putting in time to make sure they're bringing quality information. And I hope that's what I'm continuing to be able to do every time I come on this show. I'm Troy Torrance. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern to represent Pub Sports Radio. Pete Loshak's going to be here every other day of the week to bring the goods. And as I always say, my ass has been parked in this seat since 5 a.m. sharp, looking for an edge, man. Now it's time to watch our hard work pay off. Good capping, good luck, and I'll see your ass next week.
It's easier to sleep in the black when you're losing your ass and feeling so. You know what to do. Tune in to Pub Sports Radio. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's a roller coaster ride. You're gonna catch a bad beat. No problem. Keep your head up and just bet the spreadsheet. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. All thanks to Jeff Slaughter. These shows have our backs. POD's always rolling, especially the stats. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. We got Jimmy, Jose, Dabby and the fam, Dutch wine time, Spooner and OG Wham. So hit the like button, don't say that you can't. If you know what's best, just put your money on tape.